Okay, in 2008 we had that economy fall. Well, what I'm going to discuss happened in 2006. It was during the summer. Mom and Dad came down, spent a couple weeks with me. As Mom was looking for a glass one morning, she opened up a cupboard. Inside the cupboard she saw 17 those big mailers all stacked up in the cupboard, and I had a sign on there stapled to it. It was a $10 bill. The sign said, if you're reading this, I must be dead or in jail. Please take these to the post office, put them in the mail. They're all ready to go. They all got stamps on them, and mail them off for me, and keep the $10 as a thank you from me to you for doing this small job. Mom asked me about those large mailers. Well, what I did, and it took a few months to do, 17 people, 17 different people. I wrote letters, and the charges against me, the 3-page police report concerning the rape of my 5-year-old daughter, who I didn't see since she was 3. 2 years after I last seen her, I get arrested. A guy by the name of Doug Johnson took advantage of that 5-year-old, and I understand that he also got married and took advantage of another male. I guess the guy was bisexual and he loved kids, especially 5-year-olds, you know. But the man was never arrested, never convicted, because he's part of the system. Part of the system. Yep. Copy-woppies. Lawyers, judges, senators, congressmen, probably even the President of the United States, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that's part of the system. If you're not part of the system, then you're the one that gets hassled and have to pay fines to the court systems in order to keep that pitiful justice system running. Anyway, I wrote 17 letters, and I explained to Mom that, for instance, I can't think of his last name right now, but he was a pastor, Cordsville Baptist Church. His name was Andy. One time he was court ordered to get my children once a week, spend a couple hours so I could see them. Well, eventually he ended up perjuring himself in court. He told the court that I physically threatened him, his wife, and his son, and they had to leave Cordsville Baptist Church. Now that's what he told the court. Truth behind it, he embezzled money from that church. Deacons found out about it and fired him. Had to leave. Now he was looking for another church. He found a church. At that time I was going to a monthly men's night. All the churches, men would get together, different churches, Monday night for dinner. Well, I found out that Andy was coming to this one church, and I made it a point to talk to the deacon. Well, the deacon invited me to their church that Sunday morning. Andy was walking up to the podium. Same time Andy was walking up to the podium as new pastor, the deacon was walking up to the podium. and told Andy he had 30 seconds to get him and his family off the property of God, that they did not want the devil as the pastor. Totally humiliation. I'm sitting in the audience and Andy saw me. It was comical. He ended up going to one of the hospitals as a pastor of the hospital. Naturally, I went over and I talked to administration and told them concerning this. Andy Jackson, that's his name. Andy Jackson. Now, whether or not he stayed at the hospital, I have no idea, but, you know. Anyways, I wrote Andy a letter confessing all that, plus the fact that he perjured himself in court. I never threatened nobody, you know. And let's see, and then there's Kathy. Kathy worked for the state. She was a child doctor, therapist. And she contacted me one day and wanted me to come over to spend, so she could watch Nathan and I together, you know. Well, I went. Evangeline ran over and sat on my lap. Chris came over and forced Evangeline away from me. Evangeline did it again. She did it 3 times. Did the system see that? No. They didn't see that. They didn't see that at all. All they saw was this male that beats children. That's all they see. Anyway, Kathy came out, and Kathy and I was walking back to her room, and Kathy gave me a statement that her husband wanted her to lose weight. Now, why she tells me something personal like that? You know, I don't care about this woman. She ain't nothing to me. Why is she giving me her personal trash? Yeah? Don't she feel attractive? Well, not as much as she weighed. I've seen skinnier whales. Anyway, we're playing games. Now that day, I paid attention to what was going on, because this was the second time that I went to this thing. First time, it was just back in the room. Second time, she made that statement about her husband wanted her to lose weight. It dawned on me that day. The games we played, there was little pieces of candy involved in it. And as you move the pieces around, you got candy. And then I noticed that for every piece of candy that Nathan ate, this woman had 3. Yeah, 3. That just stuck with me. We were going to go to court one time, and the day of court, I get to court and find out it's canceled because Kathy had an emergency operation because of her fat. In other words, she worked for the state. She had a candy disorder. Sure, she might have loved kids, but she had that disorder about candy, and it just blah 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 put weight on her. She couldn't sit in a regular chair. It had to be a bench made out of steel. You know, just one big fat ass that is subject to the state because of her eating all that candy. You know, you got 8 or 9 kids during the day. You eat 40, 60 pieces of candy per visit, per kid. I mean, she must bring candy in weekly by wheelbarrow. And then there's the pastor, Hal. Remember that story I told you about me going to the other church? Well, Hal got a letter also. We had a pastor. You got a pastor of education, you got a pastor of youth, you got a pastor of this and a pastor of that, and then you got the head top pastor. Well, the church voted this one pastor to resign and go elsewhere because his wife was diagnosed with some disease that would cost the church money. Well, that bothered me. That bothered me. They said he wasn't really a pastor because nobody liked him. Who cares? If you're doing the work of God, it doesn't mean you're popular. It doesn't mean that you're everybody's friend. I did not like Hal. Hal did not like me. But he preached the word. He accepted me and I accepted him. That was it. But I wrote him a letter stating that the church was wrong in sending that pastor away. One day, one Sunday afternoon after church, I decided to go to the movies. As I was going down the highway, I noticed this car in the middle of the lane. There was a woman there. So I pulled off about 100 feet in front of the car. Got out of the car, walked back to the car that was bad, and the girl explained to me that she called for help, and she also called her family. And I said, okay, I'm going to sit in my car until they come, and when you feel safe, you wave and I'll leave. I did that. I sat there for about 40 minutes, and some people came. The girl waved, I waved, and drove off. That night at church, this pastor that the church said, we want you out of here, comes up to me, sticks out his hand, and he goes, thank you, Gene. Thank you for what? What you did on the highway today. That was my daughter-in-law that was here for a visit, and she didn't know anybody. Oh, just me being me. Well, I want to thank you. Sure. I can't help being me. My lawyer, Todd Manley, got a letter. I gave the man $4,000 to do justice. I feel that he did not do justice. In my other video, told you about what happened during probation. That was also mentioned in the letter to Todd Manley. Man took $5,500 from me for nothing. For nothing. 3-page police report. Doug Johnson raped my daughter. The last line is the only time my name is mentioned. And I get arrested? On what charge? Just because my name is on a 3-page report dealing with a man by the name of Doug Johnson? Come on, get real. I shouldn't have been arrested. I shouldn't have gone through that trash. I should still be delivering mail. Nettie Metcalf got a letter. Now, Nettie's letter, I thanked her for the job, you know. But there was also a small little conflict there, and I brought it to her attention. Not as bad as the other ones, but the fact that she puts trust in people and she changed churches, and the church that she went to, I felt kind of ill about when it came to the pastor. There was some things going on in that church, and come to find out the pastor did in fact try to steal $36,000 from the church. His wife was the treasurer. They went to court. He had to do jail on weekends. But who suffered for it? Their 18-year-old daughter, because the whole town knew about it, and their 18-year-old daughter. I ran into the daughter right after it hit the newspaper when I was filling up my propane for the trailer I was living in, and I ran into her and I let her know that my prayers are with you. Hold your head up high. You are not at fault for your parents' actions. You are at fault for your actions. Laugh about your dad's actions. Laugh about your mom's actions, because they are hilarious. Well, put it this way. All 17 people got the other 16 letters. In other words, when you opened up the envelope, if your name was Andy, your letter was first. But behind your letter were the other 16 people's. And then my charges. And a couple other my statements that was given to the court. Came to 42 pages. If you were another person on that list, like Kathy's letter was first. The other 16 behind it. I mailed them out, hoping that it would change something. I don't know if it has or not. Don't know. But behind that was this. When I first put the letters to pen, I gave them to my pastor. And I asked him to read it. If you got any questions, please ask me. He read them. He had one question concerning Kathy, and I answered it. He kind of chuckled, and he says, Gene, there's nothing wrong with none of those letters. I then gave them to Mary, so I could get the female view. Mary read them. Now Mary was a lady mom's age, but I met her, got her back in the church. Like me, she procrastinated for 25 years. She was Antichrist for 25 years. But I got her back in church, and she was a member of the... She went forward and became a member. Everybody was happy. And Mary read the letters. Mary's daughter was one of these secretaries that could really type out letters. Well, the understanding I had with her was this. Type the letters. And then forget them. Don't want to discuss them. All I want is the 17 letters typed. Leave a space so I can sign my name. And your job's done. She did it because she was Mary's daughter. Didn't charge me anything for doing it. And when it was over, I was so happy that I got binders for them, put them together, put them up in the cupboard, put that sign with the $10 bill on it. That made my 3 years of probation for for contempt of court because of God. That made everything dealing with Nathan and Evangeline worthwhile, because my voice was heard. Finally, the truth came out. So, that's my 2 cents for today. That's something that I just wanted to express. Hope somebody that listens to this might take a lesson from it. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Well, I believe the Lord had me do that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Because even the thought, when I first thought of doing it, was while I was reading the Bible. The letters I wrote was while I was reading the Bible, what I was going to say in the letters. God inspired? I honestly think every letter was God inspired. It took me about a year of thinking and writing to make those 17 letters possible. That's why I think it was all God inspired. Anyway, so much for today. I'm looking at about 22, 23 minutes. So with that, I'm going to shut her down and start my day. Yeah. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. And may God bless.